Okay, well today we're going to be dividing decimals by decimals. And just to refresh your memory, if we were dividing a whole number into, say, a decimal, we just raise the decimal point straight up and we do the normal division problem. So 5 into 5. Nothing goes into just the 2. Bring down our next number, and we would get our answer. We just raise that decimal point straight up. Now, that's a 5th grade skill. Now we're going to take it from here. So how to write this into a division box style. The first listed goes inside. So inside, out. So inside is a dividend. Dividend. It's an E in there. And the outside is a divisor. And the answer is a quotient. Okay, so those are the parts of a division problem. Dividend is like a den inside. So we're going to write it out. Put 56 and 2/10 inside the division box and the 5/10 on the outside. The goal is that we can't divide by a decimal on the outside, so we have to move the decimal point over one spot. So whatever we do on the outside, the divisor, we have to do in the dividend. Well, where the decimal used to be is no longer where it's going to be. It's going to be raised straight up after that. So now we're just going to treat this like a normal division problem, and I'm sure there's going to be some delay. So we're going to have to be careful and make sure you're paying attention to this and follow. 5 goes into the 5 once. 1 times 5 is 5. We subtract. We bring down our 6. 5 goes into 6 one time. We subtract, we get 1. We bring down our 2. Notice how we're still all in front of the decimal point right now? Because we are. It's very important that you follow every little step. And now you see we ran out of numbers. So that's when we do a thing called annexing of zeros. We add a 0, but you see how it's after the decimal point? Very important that you keep and you follow that every number has a place. And if it doesn't have a place, it has a placeholder, which you would put a 0 or a little x. And 5 goes into 20. 4 times 5 is 20. Nothing left over. Okay. So as one example, if you need to go back to that, you just simply rewind before moving on to the next one. So the next one that we're going to look at is 26 and 28/100ths being divided by 1 2/10. So the 1 and 2/10 is the divisor, and the 26 and 28/100ths is the dividend. So we move it one jump because that's what it says, and whatever we do on the divisor, we do on the dividend, and we raise it straight up. This old one is no longer there. It's where the new one is. So now this is where it gets important. A 12 cannot go into a 2. So I'm going to put a little X over that 2 so I don't use that spot. But a 12 can go into a 26 twice. 2 times 12 is 24. I'm subtracting underneath. I have 2 leftovers. Bring down a 2. 12 goes into 22 one time to make 12. When we subtract, we get 10. We then bring down our 8, and 12 is going into 108 9 times. If you do not know that, on the side of your paper, you would be doing basic math to try to figure out which one would make it. And it goes into that 108, no leftovers. That is another style to show you. Okay, so hopefully that's all caught up in the video before I go to erase that. That should give it enough time. I literally have no idea until I rewatch these if something is not correct or if it is correct. The next one, we're looking at 5 3/10 being divided by 24/100ths. So 5 3/10 would be on the inside, and 24 hundredths would be on the outside. Here we have 2 jumps this time. We have to take 2 jumps. Oh, ran out of digits. Got to do another digit. So in that empty space, we will put a 0. Okay, so 24 does not go into 5, but it goes into 53 twice for 48. Going to do some borrowing like you guys always do. We have 5. We bring down a 0. And after we bring down a 0, we know 24 goes into 50. 2 more times for 48. Do your borrowing like you always do. I ran out of digits. I got to bring down another 0. 24 does not go into 20. So that's my not number. Not. Notice how I put a 0 here. Very important that you do. It went in 0 times. And 0 times 24 is 0. Now I get to bring down a number. Okay. So now we got 24 into 200. So on the side of your paper, you start making some guesses. And if it's not quite high enough, you keep going until you find one. And it goes in 8 times for 192. And you borrow. And we got 8. And we bring down a 0. And 24 goes into that 3 times. And if you don't know what 24 times 3 is, we do it on the side. And if you notice, we're going to get another 8. And if I bring down another 0, I'm going to get another 80. I'm going to get that again. So I'm going to keep getting this 3 over and over and over again. So instead of showing it 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, I could put a bar over the 3, the last 3 I wrote, and that says that that 3 is going to keep on going for a very, very long time. So that's another problem that you could run into. So I can give you enough time to copy that down. All you have to do is rewind it so you can copy it down if you didn't get to copy it down as it was doing. All right, and last one that we'll do is 18 and 44 hundredths divided by 3 and 2 tenths. Jump it once, new decimal placement. All right, so 32 is not going into 1 or 8, but it is going into 184. And if I put a 32 on the side, and I have to do this math. If you got to do this math, you got to do the math. You can't get lazy about it. You just got to keep going. It goes in 5 times to make 160. And I have 4, 6, 7, 8, 24 leftovers. Bring down the 4. And we got to figure out, well, this one's much bigger than this. So maybe 32 times 7. So 14, 21, 22. Okay, that works. So 224 under here and a 7 up here. And we got 0, we got 20. We got to annex 0. Bring it on down. And 32, well, this is too high. That's too low. So maybe 6 will work. So 12, 18, 19. That did work. So we put a 6 and we got 192. Some of you are like, oh my gosh, that's so much work. Welcome to middle school math. Without work, there's not success. Well, 5 is that. 5 is too big. 3 is too big. So let's try 2. 32 and 32 is 64. Yeah, 16 left over. Bring down a 0. Oh, I've seen this number. I saw this number back up here. So the number I wrote was a 5. So now my problem has ended. And sometimes it just happens. It just keeps on going. But see how it's very important to make sure those numbers don't get written over. Otherwise, your decimal point could be in the wrong spot. Well, I hope you were able to copy some of these down into your notes. That's why we have a spiral notebook. I know this video is probably the longest one yet, but this is a longer process. And we know division is kind of painful, so we do what we can do. As always, I still love math.